Vladimir Putin's historical revisionism and territorial ambitions aim to eliminate the very existence of Ukraine, its history, its distinctive ethnicity, and with it the Ukrainian people's right to independence, liberty, and democracy.
His desire is to cement his legacy by erasing the independence of neighboring countries and impeding their right to self-determination. And the biggest black eye to Putin will always be free and open democratic societies.
And I found a weariness of these young Americans, a weariness, are we going to take the lead on all these matters, we're going to pay for all these things, and there is a weariness that's settling into people to address some of these problems. So that's why it's so important that you are here. And the work that Congressman Pittenger and this group does, it keeps the ball moving forward. It keeps people alert.
If we want to have less war in the world, I think we have to put more women in the power. We have to know how to share in your places, when you return to your country as a parliamentary. We have to give space more for women to be involved more in our political life.
Did we really do anything? Well, nothing that taught enough of a lesson. On the contrary, I think the lesson that Russia learned was that land grab could be achieved at low cost. And the war in Ukraine is a consequence of inaction over the seizure of Crimea. I think, ladies and gentlemen, there's a very big diplomatic agenda ahead of us. I think time has come to stop drifting and get on with the work.
But the mere fact of our sovereignty and independence turned out to be an integral part of peace and security in the region, if not in the world.
Russia's invasion in Ukraine shows once again that Moscow is willing to use armed forces in order to maintain its spheres of influence. It is worth mentioning that Russia illegally maintains troops in the Transnistrian separatist region of the Republic of Moldova, which could be used in the conflict if decided by Moscow. Whether the conflict will be settled or not on the short term, the decoupling of Russia from Europe is likely to last. Romanian armed forces will continue to support efforts to consolidate NATO's eastern flank, keeping in mind also that the geopolitical relevance of our country has increased, and especially in the current context, its stability is even more important to the region.
No one in Europe rooted more for the success of Russia than China. The way that you really break the joint threat that they represent is you make Russia a less valuable ally for China. Nobody can defend their house by locking the door and leaving the back door and the windows open. Arguably, maybe the hardest strategic challenge is really the security of the Black Sea. Because there are going to be these buttons that people can push to create the next crisis. And we could all sit here and list them very easily, of Ukraine and Moldova and Georgia and the Balkans and Taiwan. Let's be honest, we're never going to deliver security guarantees that look anything like NATO.
On the 10th of May 2022, Romania joined the public attribution of the Viasat cyber attack by naming, along with many other partners, the Russian Federation as the perpetrator. These events urge the need for international cooperation at the highest level in the field of cybersecurity. Countries should be focused on developing cyber resilience and the common cybersecurity level. It is important to incorporate emerging and disrupting technology in our cyber thinking, because technologies such as AI or quantum computing will play a tremendous role in our cyber future.
What do you think is most important for a modern society? To have enough energy or to have a digital infrastructure? What will have the biggest effect on Putin? That you remove his citizens' possibility to buy Chanel and Louis Vuitton bags, or getting access to his propaganda. My opinion, make Putin quiet. And honestly, we need to understand if we're going to fight Putin, we have to include China. We basically need to use our buying power and say to Chinese companies who do business in Russia, if you do business in Russia, you don't do business in Europe. You don't do business in USA. You don't do business in Latin America. You must choose who do you want to do business with. We have to use our buying partner. So we need to help the Ukrainians to stop Russia and Putin.
Companies using Uyghur slaves, turning you and myself complicit with China's genocide. My sister, Dr. Gulshan Abbas, could be making your shirt that's on your back. Famous Uyghur writers, professors, successful business people, philanthropists, and pop stars could be picking your cotton. There are perpetrators and the enablers of this genocide. China is the perpetrator, and those companies using forced labor are turning all of us the enablers while we use their products.
Human trafficking within the region is heavily intertwined with terrorism, and traffickers take advantage of various push and pull factors which contribute to trafficking. Across the region, terrorism is heavily intertwined with human trafficking and other forms of organized crime.
Terrorists and traffickers work under the same animating force, an abuse of power. A criminal offense whereby perpetrators assume a position of authority in order to take unjust advantage of vulnerable individuals or governments.
It is now suspected that Russia, having promised to support Venezuela, smuggled tons of Venezuelan gold to various foreign markets by air in order to circumvent sanctions.
Degradation and the erosion of our economic might through theft, through both front door and back door economic espionage, adversarial capital, is eroding our ability to project our power, to serve our people, to have an effective military around the world.
Most important geopolitical issue clearly right now, that is the protection of the sovereignty of Ukraine and the protection of our democratic values against unacceptable aggression made by the Russian regime and Vladimir Putin.
The Repower EU helps us also relieve some of our other dependency on Russia, and that is medical isotopes. One little known thing is actually that our Chernobyl power plants and nuclear power plants, not just ours, but all nuclear power plants can also produce medical isotopes, cobalt-60, molybdenum-99, lutetium, which are the treatment of the future.
The other thing that we have to be looking at is investment types, not just investment locations. I remember 15, 20 years ago, everybody said, oh, prepaid cards are the worst thing in the world. Oh, okay, now prepaid cards are all over the world and they're generally accepted. Crypto is now the worst thing in the world. When I traded gold and oil, that was the worst thing in the world. Like, how do we accept reasonable assets and work with business to be able to monitor them and regulate them, and versus saying this entire investment product is super high risk and we shouldn't allow it. What we should be doing is working with businesses to see what is the asset, how is it moved, what's the quickness and the velocity of the money associated with, and what type of people are looking for it so we can come up with behavioral patterns.
Transnational organized crime includes many activities with global impact: drug trafficking, money laundering, human trafficking, alien smuggling, public corruption, weapons trafficking, extortion, kidnapping, exploitation and trafficking of natural resources, theft of cultural property such as art and antiquities, and insurance and healthcare fraud.
Future generations will remember one thing, that whatever we do today will become forever what we have done. Let's continue to do the right things. Let's find in each of us the courage to take the right decisions when we need to take them. I believe that we are united, and that is how we will stand till the end.
Also express my appreciation to former Congressman Pittenger for work he's doing around the world to keep the issues of our time in the forefront on various continents and in different countries. And thank you very much, sir, for that.